Hello everyone.
Hey guys.
Mr. Costello and I are going to go over a brief video of Chapter 1 of Persepolis.
We're going to prepare you to read this because the first chapter is pretty dense with historical figures and events, and we want to make sure that we're understanding everything the first time through, and we can really get into the story because it's a really great book.
Hope you like it. The story of Persepolis is about a little girl named Marjane growing up during the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran. Do you want to explain the facts that led up to the 1979 revolution?
Sure. So to understand what happened in Iran in 1979, we have to go all the way back to the end of World War II. After World War II, you had British and American companies going into Iran to start drilling for oil. Iran had a lot of oil, and these companies had arrangements with the Iranian government that they were drilling for oil and making a lot of money, millions of dollars, drilling oil in Iran. So the problem that the Iranian people had with this was that all these millions of dollars were being made by these foreign companies, and all that money was going out of Iran. So what they wanted was for that money to stay in the country and to help out the Iranian people. This was not the richest country in the world. They had a lot of poverty. So in the 1950s, they elected a new prime minister, or their leader. His name was Mossadegh. And Mossadegh's idea was that the government would take control of all the oil fields and then use the money made from them, instead of giving it to foreign companies, it would use it for Iran to make the country better, to help the people, to build roads, to build schools, to improve the lives of the people.
I bet Britain and the U.S. didn't like this.
They absolutely didn't. And so they combined forces and they overthrew Mossadegh.
Then they installed the Shah. Shah means king. And he was very unlike the prime minister. He did not care about the Iranian people, and the prime minister really tried to focus his efforts on the people of Iran. The Shah was very selfish.
Exactly. The Shah lived this completely lavish lifestyle while the people of Iran were suffering and were in poverty. And the only reason that he was in power at all was because the United States and Great Britain supported him. And this later affected how the Iranian people saw the United States and Great Britain. They supported this leader who treated them so badly, so therefore they had a very negative view of the United States and Great Britain.
As you can see, the people of Iran were not happy.
Exactly. Life was so miserable under the Shah that many people were forced into a position where they supported violent Muslim extremists who wanted to establish a theocracy and overthrow the Shah.
A theocracy is a system of government that is ruled by religion.
Exactly. Consider if you lived in a country that used the Bible for its basis of law instead of a constitution like we do in the United States. An example of how that would change things, Ms. Fibo, do you go to church on Sunday?
Nope.
Well, under that system of theocracy, you could potentially be arrested, thrown in jail, maybe even killed for not following the Bible, not going to church on Sunday.
So you're probably wondering what kind of changes happened. Well, first, they were against anything that represented Europe and the United States. They had this idea that the American culture is full of decadence. And when they say Western, they didn't like the Western culture. They're not talking about California. They're talking about the United States and Europe and other Western countries. So don't get that confused. They viewed American culture as very overindulgent, such as spending money like $200 on a pair of shoes.
And the most drastic change was that the people were forced to adopt a strict Muslim lifestyle, and this had enormous effects on the lives of women in Iran. So essentially, the lives of Iranian women went from this to this. And it didn't matter how religious they were before the revolution, they were forced to adopt this lifestyle.
In Chapter 1, Marjane introduces her character as someone who is religious, and her aspiration is to become the next prophet. And in this case, in scenario, a prophet means a messenger of God.
Now, this is different than what we just saw in the Iliad, where a prophet meant someone that could see the future. And also in the Iliad, there were many different gods. Well, in the Christian, Muslim, and Jewish religions, they all believe that there is only one God, but that this God had many prophets, or people that he chose to deliver his message to the people.
Here are a few examples of men that are considered prophets in the Muslim religion. We have Jesus and Abraham, Moses and Noah, and Muhammad. And Marjane has this belief in herself that she wants to be the next prophet. And there's actually a really good reason why Muhammad doesn't have an actual picture of himself.
In the Muslim faith, it is forbidden to have an image of Muhammad, so no paintings, no statues, no drawings, so he's represented by this stylized writing of his name.
Earlier today, as a class, we went over the differences between communism and capitalism, and Karl Marx was a major figure in the communist theory. He was actually the founder of communism, and you'll see him being brought up throughout this entire graphic novel.
You also see a bunch of other communists in this chapter, and just to make sure that we're straight on who everyone is, we're going to go through them real quickly. So here is Karl Marx again, and you'll see in the graphic novel that Marjane has dreams where God and Karl Marx have a dialogue, and she herself often seems torn between her belief in God and her desire to be a communist. And this makes sense because Karl Marx was very anti-religion, and so you can see there are these two parts of Marjane's psyche that are kind of battling it out to see where her commitment lies.
This is Vladimir Lenin, and he was also a communist.
He was the leader of the communists in Russia when they took over the country and established it as a communist country. And his body is still preserved. This is actually a picture of it in Moscow to this day. People go and see it. This is Joseph Stalin.
If you haven't heard of him yet, you will.
He was another Russian communist who came after Vladimir Lenin, and you can see a picture of him here with Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Churchill at the end of World War II. Now, she really loved Castro. Doesn't Castro come up a lot?
She did, but I think that Marx comes up way more.
Okay. Well, Castro was another Marxist who was a communist leader, and this time it was in Cuba.
This is just a review slide of what we went over today in class with capitalism and communism and the differences between them.
So, now we're all ready to dig into Persepolis.
You guys are going to love this story. This is a memoir. It's a true story.
It's a first-person account, and it's written in graphic novel form, so we're going to be spending a lot of time analyzing images and really getting into this story of the extraordinary childhood that this girl had and the situations that her and her family had to deal with.
Have a good day, and we'll see you guys in class tomorrow.
See ya!